Hey, hey, what's good, people? Mr. Zensphere back again with another Renoise tutorial. Today I want to share with you guys how to create free-running oscillators geared towards infinite ambient drones. Here's an example of the kind of sound that you can create using this technique, although it's pretty versatile and can sound a lot of different ways. Really good for creating kind of evolving soundscapes that you can play live and change on the fly with MIDI mapping and get some really kind of deep and interesting soundscapes out of this technique. So I'll show you how to do this. It's pretty straightforward. So just cutting that out here, I'm going to take both of these out just so we don't have any inadvertent sound being created. So this is all done in the effects section. And the first thing that we need is a line-in device. Shout out to user Ranan Dejong for sharing this technique. Apparently it's also kind of outlined in one of the Renoise tutorial files. But I had missed it, and I've been using Renoise forever, so I figure some of you guys have missed it as well. And it's a pretty cool technique and pretty versatile. So I'll show you how it works here. So the first thing we want is a line input device. And we actually don't need to select a recording device at all. This is just kind of generating a 0 decibel signal for us. And then the next thing that we need is a DC offset device. And this DC offset device will then raise the amplitude of this signal into kind of a usable range for the ring modulator device. Now you can use the ring modulator that comes packaged with Renoise presently, but it's kind of nice to use the deprecated ring modulator, the old ring modulator, which you can access through the Add Native DSP tool under Modulation, Ring Mod Deprecated. And the reason why this is preferable is, one, because there's another waveform type, and it basically just runs on frequency values as opposed to note values. And you also have this phase control, so you can control kind of the phase width in the stereo image you can see up here. We can make it mono, we can make it pure side signal, or have it kind of dispersed throughout. So we've just got a sine oscillator here, and we can control the amplitude with this DC offset amount knob. And kind of the interesting stuff starts to happen when we stack ring modulators on top of each other or in sequence with each other. And if you like, you can tune these so that there are harmonics of each other. I tend to prefer more kind of dissonant, atonal type of sounds, so I don't worry too much about the frequencies. I'll usually just kind of scale them live via MIDI control. And so in and of itself, this is, pretty simple, straightforward technique, but then it kind of gets interesting when you start adding some effects after the fact here. So we can add in some chorus. Maybe throw a delay unit on there as well. Let's throw our multi-tap delay on there. And then if you start like MIDI mapping, let's maybe throw a reverb on there as well. I'm going to use the convolver just because I like the flexibility of the convolver and bringing in my own impulse responses. Now, sometimes this convolver can yield some loud and unexpected results. We'll probably get that here. I'm just going to take the gain down, bring this down to negative 28 or so, and bring the color up a little bit. And then we can start, maybe MIDI mapping some of the parameters to a MIDI controller. So I'm just going to change some of these mappings here. We'll leave amount. We can leave phase. And let's change the inertia as well. Actually, we're going to map amount also. I'm just going to map these out here. And we'll just play with this a little bit here. So then we can start to move some of these parameters live. You can hear how the sound is kind of morphing and changing. We can change the phase. Really nice for creating, kind of soundscapes, ambiances, cavernous spaces, especially if you have a nice deep reverb on there. Sky's the limit, of course. So this is just a kind of fairly simple example of the principle. And you can, of course, add whatever kind of effects, different effect routing. You can bring in more modulators if you just kind of duplicate this line in and DC offset to ring mod on a separate effects chain. You can have multiple oscillators functioning simultaneously, and depending on your control surface, you can control these all live. So it opens up some kind of cool performance opportunities, I think, for live ambient drone music. And in fact, I actually just did a set last week performing using this method. It was super fun, super tactile and engaging from the performance perspective. And yeah, I think it's kind of a cool technique, so I wanted to share it with you guys. You can also use these ring modulators to kind of approximate some FM synthesis. So I'll show you how to do this here. I'm going to take out this second ring modulator, and I'll bring in just an LFO device. Now this is going to function differently depending on your line per beat value and your BPM. So all that we're going to do is just have the destination for this LFO set to the ring modulator frequency. And then we should have as we bring up the frequency, we get something approximating or approaching FM synthesis. And if, this is bound at 1 line per cycle. If you need something faster, you can up your BPM or up your lines per beat. Let's just up the BPM to, let's say, 400. That should give us plenty of speed here. And of course, you can change your modulator using these different LFO shapes, and that will change the sound. Turn the reverb down a little bit. And you can just change the carrier waveform as well. So super fun, free-running oscillators in Renoise. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. There's a lot more that you can do using this technique, but I just wanted to show you how you can do it. You can always MIDI map this DC offset amount to control the amplitude of your signal, or if you know that you want it running, you can map this amount value to also have amplitude control. You could also use a meta mixer to have multiple signals oscillating the frequency simultaneously, so you could get a second LFO in there. You could use an LFO in custom LFO mode and set certain point values if you wanted to step through pitches. There's really a lot you can do with this technique. It's pretty flexible, pretty powerful. So just a quickie today. Wanted to show you guys how that works. Hope you enjoy. If you have any questions, hit me up in the comments. Keep being awesome. Keep making lots of music. Peace.